The rain had been falling since morning, the kind that soaks through clothes and makes the world feel smaller. People rushed past the small grocery store, heads down, focused on getting home before the roads flooded. No one noticed the old man sitting on the broken step near the entrance. His name was Henry. He wore the same faded coat every day and carried a small cloth bag with a few empty bottles inside. Some days he made enough to buy bread. Some days, he didn't. Today was one of the worst days. Henry hadn't eaten since the previous afternoon. His hands trembled slightly from hunger as he watched families walk into the store, laughing, talking, filling their baskets. He didn't feel jealous. He just felt tired and invisible. He lowered his eyes and whispered, "Maybe tomorrow will be better." Inside the store, a young woman named Sarah was helping her little brother choose snacks. She worked 2 part-time jobs and took care of him after their mother passed away. Life wasn't easy, but she always tried to stay grateful. As they approached the counter, her brother pulled her sleeve. "Sis, that old man outside looks cold." Sarah glanced toward the door. She saw Henry. He wasn't begging. He wasn't shouting. He was just sitting there quietly, as if he'd already accepted whatever the world had decided for him. Something about that broke her heart. Sarah paid for the items, then asked the cashier for an extra bread loaf and a hot tea. The cashier raised an eyebrow. "For him?" he asked quietly. Sarah nodded. "Yes, just put it on my bill." When she walked out, the rain had softened, but the wind was still cold. She stepped closer to Henry and softly spoke, "Sir, are you hungry?" Henry looked up, surprised that someone had noticed him. His voice was weak. "A little, miss. But it's okay, I'll manage." Sarah knelt down so they were at eye level and handed him the bread and tea. "No, sir. Today, you won't just manage. Today, you'll eat." Henry hesitated. "I don't want to be a burden," he whispered. Sarah smiled gently. "You're not a burden. You're a human being." Henry's hands shook as he took the cup. Tears filled his eyes, not because of the food, but because someone had spoken to him with dignity. "You're the first person to look at me in days," he said quietly. Sarah felt a tightness in her chest. "I'm sorry it took this long for someone to remember you matter." She was about to leave when Henry suddenly asked, "Miss, why are you doing this?" Sarah paused. "I lost someone who taught me kindness," she answered. "And I promised myself I wouldn't let the world make me forget it too." Henry nodded slowly. "You kept a promise today," he said. Sarah walked away thinking it would be just another small good deed in her life. But for Henry, it was everything. Over the next few days, Sarah started bringing him tea and bread whenever she passed by. Not every day had extra money, but even when she didn't, she stopped and talked to him. He told her stories about how he once worked as a carpenter, about how he used to build toy boats for his daughter, about how he lost everything when his house burned down 14 years ago. "And my daughter," Henry said one day, staring at the road. "She passed away 2 winters after that." Sarah stayed silent, listening. "I stopped living that day," he continued. "But you reminded me what it feels like to exist again." One evening, as Sarah came out with tea, she didn't see Henry. Her heart dropped. She asked the shopkeeper, "Where is the old man who sits outside?" He pointed down the street. "He collapsed this morning. Some people called an ambulance." Panic filled her chest. She didn't even think. She ran. At the community clinic, she found him lying on a bed, hooked to a drip. His face looked pale, but his eyes opened when he heard her voice. "You came," he whispered. "Of course I did," Sarah replied, holding back tears. "I was scared." Henry managed a weak smile. "I think God sent you because he got tired of me giving up." 3 days later, Henry was recovering slowly. The doctor said if he hadn't gotten help when he did, he wouldn't have survived. Sarah started a small page online to collect funds for his treatment. She posted his story, not to make him famous, but to remind people that kindness doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Messages started coming in, donations too, even small ones. A local workshop owner, after seeing the post, offered Henry a light job, repairing wooden tools and frames. The day Henry returned to the grocery store entrance, he wasn't sitting on the cold steps anymore. He stood, with clean clothes, with steadier hands, with dignity. Sarah's brother gasped, "Sis, look, he's standing." Sarah smiled, eyes slightly wet. Henry walked up to her and held out a small wooden boat. "I made this for you," he said. "It's not perfect. My hands don't work like they used to." Sarah carefully took it. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Henry shook his head. No, he said. What's beautiful is the day you decided I wasn't invisible. Sarah looked around at the busy street. Cars, crowds, noise, life. And she realized something. Kindness doesn't need a stage. It doesn't need applause. It only needs a heart willing to care. And sometimes, one small act is enough to save a life that almost gave up.